Yo, what up, everybody? Shout out to our listeners. Shout out to the Savs. Shout out to the fellas. Some of the fellas couldn't make it on tonight, but me, my boy Paper Route, Rax
What's good?
Esquire,
What's good
my
with it?
boy Dre from PG.
What's goody?
We're gonna hold it down. We're gonna hold it down. Speaking of hold it down, the women's tournament continues to be a success. 12 million viewers Monday night for LSU Iowa rematch of one of the most watched women's games of all time from last year. Set the record for the most watched women's game of all time. Shout out to Caitlin Clark. Shout out to Angel Reese Flage. LSU defending champs. They got beat by Iowa in the rematch, kind of like how Duke and UNLV in 90 and 91, where UNLV beat Duke, and then Duke got their late back next year in the Final Four. Iowa advances to the Final Four for the second straight year in a row, where they'll meet the UConn Huskies. Um, Paige Beckers outdueled Juju Watkins. Gino Auriemma has UConn back in the Final Four. And then on the other side, we have NC State, who beat Texas in the Elite Eight. And then, of course, South Carolina is undefeated. So, fellas, y'all have covered the women all season. What are your thoughts so far on the women's Final Four starting on Friday night?
So I guess like first, like my reactions to the Elite Eight. I know uh, NC State did their thing. South Carolina did their thing as well. We just it was like Monday night was just a big moment for women's college hoops. Just having like four stars on display that night, and you mentioned the LSU Iowa game, how that got 12 million viewers, and I think about the same for the UConn USC game. It was just Caitlin Clark put on a virtuoso. So did Paige Beckers. Um, Caitlin 41, 12 assists, 9 3-pointers made. I mean, um, I don't know what LSU was doing with putting Haley Van Lith on Caitlin Clark most of the game, but
Mm.
that's a whole nother a different story about Kim Mulkey, and kind of just the lack of coaching adjustments there. But Caitlin, Paige did their thing. It's going to be a phenomenal matchup to see on Friday night. I'm looking like I'm really looking forward to that because the last time they played each other was 2021, second round of the tournament. At the time, Paige Beckers was the player of the year. She was the talk of the town when it came to women's college hoops. And people knew about Caitlin Clark, but people didn't know about Caitlin Clark the way they know about her today. Like they knew at the
Yep.
time, you knew that this girl, she's a great shooter and everything, and you didn't really know too much about Iowa women's basketball. Like you just knew that, oh, like this like freshman girl, she's really good. Like she shoots like from 30 feet and everything, but it was all about Paige. But since then, the year after that, Paige had some injuries. They still went to the national championship game, but she had missed some time that year. And then last year she was out for the whole season because of a torn ACL. And this year was the kind of just the resurgence, the comeback year for her. And she talked about how gratifying and how this moment felt for her to be able to come back and be on the stage and get back to the Final Four again. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Caitlin Clark is right now, just the superstar and the star, everything that she is right now, how she's grown from that moment freshman year to now, and seeing how Paige is now and how her resurgence back on this stage and how that matchup will be like because throughout this tournament, Caitlin, their numbers are kind of almost similar when it comes to like points and assists. Caitlin is averaging about 30 points and 10 assists. I think Paige is averaging 29 and 9 assists, and they're both average 5 assists, and she's averaging 3 steals. They're both averaging 3 steals, so they've both been getting after it on the defensive side as well. So I'm just looking forward. I'm really just looking forward to that matchup. I know NC State, South Carolina, that may be a sleeper, but I think South Carolina got that in the bag. But I'm really looking forward to this Iowa UConn matchup.
For sure, man.
Yeah.
We could have milk on milk crime on Friday.
I mean, I think the
Paige,
steps. No, I
I'm
just
sorry, Dre.
want.
I was gonna say I think Paige hears all the noise about Caitlin Clark and she might have a point to prove. But what do you think, Dre?
No, it's definitely going to be something to watch. When we was kind of breaking down the women's bracket, we kind of thought when we saw the matchups that we kind of see that UConn had a chance to make it out of that West region, even though USC had a great year being the number one seed. I think the main thing we talk about is like we just felt like Paige was going to have some moments in this tournament, and she showed up in the Sweet 16, and then she showed up again against her one-on-one matchup against Juju Watkins, and like Juju gave her best as well, but you could just tell it was like different levels to it. The way Paige was scoring and getting her team involved versus how Juju and USC's were. So like how they pretty much broke it down, like both of these players came in the same year together. They play on USA basketball together. They know each other very well. Pretty much great friendship off the court. They match up earlier in their careers, and now they have a chance to play each other. While this is Caitlin Clark's last year in the NCAA, so I think it's going to be a great matchup. I think again, it's going to come down to what the others do, what Aaliyah Edwards do, what Kay Martin do, what Gabby does with the shooting, because they pretty much nobody should sleep on this UConn team. They playing tough right now. They're playing with confidence. The young players that didn't expect to play a lot this year have been stepping up. So I know they don't have a deep bench, but neither does Iowa. So it's going to be a good kind of like 7-on-7 and see how Gino plays defense against this Iowa squad, because quite honestly, this is probably his best coaching job. Dealing with all the injuries, your other superstar guards been out pretty much for the whole season. And we kind of just been used to Gino when he's been having these great teams where not only he have like two great players, you talking about two great players at a time that could arguably be in the Mount Rushmore and women's basketball period. So to see how he's got Paige and this team in the Final Four, we got to give him his credits. And we shouldn't sleep on this South Carolina NC State matchup too. I know South Carolina had referred, but it's a storyline. One of their owns over there on the NC State side, she's been shining during this tournament too. And Rivers, she pretty much just wanted more opportunities. She wanted a larger role, so that's why she transferred out of South Carolina to NC State. They don't hear that, but you're seeing how it's paying off over there. So I believe they match up against each other early in the season, and South Carolina won that matchup. As you know, they're undefeated, but I think NC State highly surprised Stanford, highly surprised Texas. I think it's going to be another tough game for South Carolina, but South Carolina is probably still going to come out top because they just 10 deep, got Cardozo playing very well. So, but I think both of these matchups on Friday is going to be elite basketball like we've been seeing since the Sweet 16.
Yeah, and to follow up on that, on the NC State South Carolina matchup, I know that there was a lot of disparity, and this became a topic of conversation as far as the 3-point line mishap in Portland. But the way NC State was shooting against Texas didn't really matter. But so if NC State is able to shoot like that, like the way they did from the 3-point line against South Carolina, it'll definitely be a game. The UConn Iowa matchup, I say one of the biggest factors is going to be like who gets in foul trouble first. UConn was able to survive that storm against USC because three of their starters were in foul trouble. Nika Mule, I think KK Arnold, and I think either Ice Brady or somebody else. But they were able to play on 4 fouls, like really like for a quarter or like a quarter and a half. I know Nika Mule got her 4th foul like middle of the 3rd quarter, and she was able to, not foul out the game. So I wonder how they'll be able to keep that up, moving forward into the Final Four. But if I like, depending on who gets on foul trouble first, that could be a huge problem and an advantage for the other team.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So prediction time for the women's, the ladies. Dave, who you got, and win the national championship on the women's side?
So I got South Carolina beating NC State. I don't think it will be a blowout, but I think South Carolina will pull out a fairly close victory. And in this UConn Iowa matchup, I'm gonna go Iowa. I'm gonna go Iowa in a very close one. I think maybe Caitlin plays maybe a little bit better than Paige, but I'm gonna say Iowa. And then in a national championship game, I got South Carolina finishing off the season undefeated.
What about you, Dre?
For some reason, I want to see. I'm picking South Carolina, but for some reason, I want to say UConn might win this thing somehow. I don't know. I wish BT was able to come through because he pretty much put it out there that he feel like honestly Paige is probably still the better player between the two.
Mm-hmm.
But Caitlin Clark, she didn't have any injuries, so she was able to keep improving, not have to rehab, and we can see that her offensive game just kept going to new levels each year. But Paige is still about a bucket too, and she's a good shooter as well, and knows how to carry the team as well. So I'm really looking forward to them. I kind of wish UConn was fully healthy because I would just pick UConn right out the gate if they still had like Izzy Fudd and other players that couldn't make it to this tournament. But I'm just to be I'm gonna see if UConn can get the upset and ruin the Caitlin Clark parade because I won South Carolina beat UConn in the championship.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with UConn because I think Paige Beckers is on a mission, and seeing what she was supposed to be, with, not to her fault out of her own because she's had injuries, but seeing where Caitlin Clark is, that's where Paige Beckers is supposed to be, and I think she's gonna have a huge chip on her shoulder. And I think Gino, like you said, is the best coach in the job, but I think he wants to prove something as well because the last few years, it's been Dawn Staley and um,
Kim
Milwaukee last year.
Yeah.
I think Gino and Paige are going to have a chip on their shoulder and something to prove. And then, the noise about Kate and Clark, want to go to UConn and all that noise. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been too crazy.
Yeah.
That would have been too crazy for those two.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a nail biter, but, kind of like, I'm going to bring up something, kind of like how when Carolina played Duke in the men's Final Four a couple of years ago, that was a championship game. And even though Carolina had a lead, they just couldn't hold on and sustain that energy. And Kansas was able to come back and beat them in the championship game. I think it's possibly the same way because this LSU Iowa matchup had a Bird versus Magic type of feel for the women's game.
Yeah.
When those two met, that was for the championship. So we didn't get to see if there's going to be a hangover effect. But we've seen at times when the Elite Eight matchup or a semifinal matchup has more hype than the next matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there's a letdown. And I think it's going to be a nail biter, but I'm going to go with UConn over Iowa. And then the second game, I think it's going to be a competitive game because we've seen South Carolina get challenged at times, but we've seen them be able to turn it on and pull away. I think they're able to do that, and they'll play UConn in the championship game. And I'm going to pick South Carolina just for their overall depth. Like you said, they go 10 deep. And I think Dawn's on a mission. They got close last year
But Caitlin got them out of there.
Season.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think South Carolina's going to come out on top for the ladies. Now, for the men, it's UConn's to lose, man.
Yeah.
A 30-0 run, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
I've coached AAU, high school, middle school. I don't care what level of basketball you're playing. A 30-0 run.
It's atrocious. That's atrocious.
It's crazy, man.
We're talking about a team that won the Big Ten tournament championship.
Yeah.
And UConn just waxed them in the second half.
A top 10 ranked team. A top 10 ranked team.
I'm talking about an hour of real time, you don't get a bucket. Like like an hour of real time, you don't get a bucket. Like,
yeah, they didn't get a bucket until the 10-minute mark of the second half.
fam, that's disgusting. Like, you can't even get a free throw. Like, no, nothing. Like, the well is dry. Like, it.
Oh,
They was looking like Houston
crazy.
Game 7, man. Just atrocious basketball, bro.
Yeah, that was crazy just how it happened, man. It is UConn's to lose. I don't see. Well, we'll get into predictions, but there's no one
Do we
that I
really
feel
need
like
to
is
have
better.
predictions? Do we really need to have predictions, bro?
But
Cause honestly, I don't even care about the other side of the bracket. Other side of the bracket is smooth, just ops. Like, if there was a way for them to like beat disqualified, I'll be a happy man for both teams. I'm gonna keep it a band. I keep it a band, man. Like, I just want y'all to win to get this over with. I just want y'all to win so we can get over this, and so we can move into the NBA playoffs, because if
no, I want to get this over with too, so I can celebrate this back to back. You know, like, but like, it's taking too long, man. Let's go ahead and hurry this up, bro. If we could play today, I'd be like, man, let's play today.
I just hope, I pray. I mean, it don't matter to me, but if Nate Oates wants to make another enemy, then it's gonna be some disdain going into the next season. I tell you that, boy.
Yeah. I mean, like, so for Alabama, I mean, I'm not. I've seen them a few times during the season and in the conference tournament, and throughout this run they're making. This Grant Nelson dude, I never really heard of him until like now, but
he was kind of not to cut you off, but he was kind of up and down.
Yeah.
Until really the Carolina games, like his coming out party.
Yeah, because I like when it came to Alabama, I guess Marcus Sears, I think his name is Marcus Sears.
The point guard, Sears.
The point guard, Sears.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so we
got Stevenson, a freshman from
Jared
right down the road that Carolina was trying to get, but I think there was some backdoor dealing going on. So
Alabama has 2 All-Americans. Yeah, they doing something. All the football money going to the basketball program now.
And they got Rodney Pringle. He's solid too. But man, like, we just can't let them present any like problems to us. Like, we can't beat ourselves. Like, that's just the whole part of this run.
Y'all pretty much in the same boat as South Carolina. Y'all pretty much in the same boat. Like, y'all know y'all the dominant team. Like, everybody's gonna look at y'all to like kind of get through this tournament and be over with. But the only way these other teams can have a chance of beating y'all is y'all have to start beating yourselves first. So
like, we can't Oh, go ahead, T.
I'm sorry. I'll say one thing about Alabama. They can score the ball. Like, I think they led the nation in scoring. They average like 95 points a game.
Yeah. Old system since he's been there has been going. Because I've been peeking at it because a lot of SEC basketball be on, especially on our coast. But when they're like, even when they had Brandon Miller last year, you just be like, damn, they really just scoring the rock, and how you can continue it even without like a number 2 overall pick type of player on your team. Like, that's a good offensive system he's running down there.
Yeah, like, so
all joking aside, I think. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, all joking aside, and all just saying aside, I think Nate Oates is gonna be NBA coach soon, and a damn good one, honestly.
Yeah, true.
Would you want him for the Hornets?
I don't think he's available. I don't think he'll be available this offseason, but I mean, down the road, if things don't work out to the next coach, I mean, they're talking about the Hornets this assistant that used to be with the Bucks and Budenholzer and Charles Lee, now assistant in Boston. Sam Cassell's getting some mention. Chris Quinn, a former NBA player and assistant sponsor Sal, is getting some looks. But I mean, Nate Oates down the road, I think he's going to be a prime candidate for a lot of jobs, college and pro. Watch out for Kentucky.
Yeah. Yeah.
But my bad, Dad. I just want to get that off, bro. I'll let you get back to the game. My fault.
No, I was just gonna say, like, UConn has to just slow the game down, like they did against Iowa. That first half, they kept it in the 20s before that 30-0 run. So just slow the game down.
I think pace is going to be important. Like you said, Alabama, they get up and down. They play
Yeah.
Carolina basketball faster than this year's Carolina team, but that's kind of how they play. They're going to get up and down. They're going to try to score the ball. Defensively, their numbers weren't great, but they defended in the tournament when they had to, because when they played Grand Canyon, that was, even though it was a lot of pace, that was a helter-skelter game. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
it was a fast-paced game, but there's like no basketball rhythm in that game. They just found a way to get Tommy Stock to beat it. Yeah, I think that game is really all about pace. The second game, State has had a great run.
You gotta call. Hey, you gotta call it as it is. They had a great run, man.
Yeah.
ACC tournament, Final Four. Gotta give them their dues, man.
They had to win 7 games in 12 days to even get to the Sweet 16. They had to win 5 games in 5 days in the ACC tournament. Then they had to play on, I think, a Thursday and then a Saturday to get to the Sweet 16. So that's a crazy, crazy stretch of ball. And then they were able to beat Marquette, which a lot of us felt, we predicted that in our chat. We felt like Marquette was to be had. And then the Duke game was interesting because John Shire is
Bum.
not who Duke fans think he is. I watched a video. This guy, he breaks down like strategy coaches and stuff after games. He went on John Shire. He went on Kill Mulkey also for that LSU Iowa game as well. But like, I don't know if it's what Shire's teaching, but some of Duke's rotations and some of their transition defense was atrocious. And then the first half, State was missing a lot of like shots at the rim that they usually can make those shots. And Duke was only up by 6 at halftime. And I was watching the game, and funny story to the listeners. So Sunday, I was out uptown Charlotte, place called Tattoos and Booze. The owners and the promoters there. I walk in, and every girl is running to the back. And who was there? Jason Tatum. He was there, like him, Emil Jefferson, former Duke player and now coach in the NBA, assistant coach. They were there watching the game, ordering food, watching their Duke team lose the State, and their reaction to the second half was priceless. Because you could tell they was like, "What the fuck is going on?" Because like on paper, Duke has more talent than State, but when DJ Burns got going in the second half, and then they were able to get some other guys to make some plays and hit some shots, I looked at my homeboy and I was like, "This game's over."
Boy, I know. At this point, Tatum got PTSD, bro. How many times his beloved teams got to lose to a boy from North Carolina? Like, god damn.
Yeah.
Like, it's ugly for that boy. It's ugly for that boy. I should have known. When you told me that, I should have known the trick off was going to happen. He got too excited.
Yeah, man.
Filipowski kept complaining. Filipowski kept complaining instead of balling, man. Like, and Tyrese Proctor, Jared McClain turned the ball over and all, like bad shots and everything. Yeah,
I
don't know.
Duke lost their composure.
Yeah, definitely.
Coach John Shire never reeled them in, and we talk college ball again, or pro ball, but next episode if we can get him back on, we can get Raw back on because he said it. Duke's a soft team.
Yep.
McCain had a good scoring game, but like you said, the turnovers and they just don't have that dog. And you guys watched Cooper Flay last night. I was actually watching the Sixers and OKC game, so you saw Cooper Flay and Isaiah Evans, and I mean, I don't know if it's going to be the same thing next year or they bring all this talent, but who's going to be that alpha? And does anything? When's the last time a Duke player has brought like any fear overall? Because we see in the past, when they had guys like Grant Hill, Leitner,
JJ Redick.
That team, JJ Redick. He didn't win a championship, but you had a game plan just for him. Trajan Langdon, Jay Williams, Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
I think they haven't had that guy really. They haven't had that dog since Zion.
Yeah.
Yeah, since Zion.
Because Pancaro could have been that guy. They just schemed him all the way wrong. And that's what did that team in. Because the way you see him in the NBA, there's no way in hell he wasn't supposed to abuse some of the mismatches that he got, especially when he played Jaw in the in every Duke UNC game. So,
Coach
but
K.
like,
Yeah, Manick and Baycott couldn't check him. Puff Johnson, Leaky Black, none of those dudes can check him. But yeah, I think it's year 2. We'll see what John Shire is really about next year because the expectations are going to be high because Cooper Flay is going to be one of the most hyped guys to come into the men's college basketball game in years.
Yeah.
And then Isaiah Evans won a state championship from Huntersville right up the street in Lake Norman area. And they got this 7'2" African guy, and they got a big recruiting class coming in. But
yeah, they got the #1 recruiting class coming in. We're assuming that it's going to maybe like 2-3 of these current players that's going to go to the draft. I think does Rose finally get to graduate and act like he needs to get a real job and stop pretending he's hoop dreams or something, or does he get to come back too and pretend
he might
be?
use a COVID year because he came in with Caleb and RJ, so he.
Hey man, you're not. Hey man, just go overseas or something. You're not Quinn Cook, dog. You're not that nice, bro. Stop taking somebody's spot, man. I'm getting tired.
I think Tyrese Proctor could be a transfer candidate for real.
I think he out of there. I don't think he out of there because there's people coming in and take his spot. So
yeah, McCain's a lottery pick.
Yeah,
Jared McCain had a good tournament. Hold on, excuse me one second, guys. Damn, pollen out here is ridiculous.
No, you getting tired talking about that bullshit ass team. That's all.
You're allergic to talking about Duke, bro. That's it.
It's disgusting. I know, man. It's disgusting, man.
You're allergic to talking about Duke. It's understandable.
Yeah, Phil Palsey's gone. And then like some of the other guys you thought were took a step, like Mark Mitchell, he hasn't. I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting to see the roster makeup of that team next year. But back to State, they get Purdue. Zach Edey, you breathe on him, it's a foul. He can push and shove. They don't call a foul. Shot 24 free throws versus Tennessee. And Tennessee still had a chance to, definitely in that game to possibly win that game. But Purdue should beat State. But Purdue's not beating UConn. I don't care if they're a 1 seed.
The NCAA wants Donovan Klingman.
That's what
the NCAA wants.
Like
that's what they want.
Like the only thing I'm scared for today's team, I feel like the ultimate whole job is about to unfold with this storyline.
Yeah,
because you get in that same like Virginia feeling where it's like over like favorite team gets beat by a 16 seed and come back and run it back on the haters and be like, yeah, we like I ain't got time for this, man. Like I really don't.
NC State, you have one job. You have one job. I don't need that storyline to prosper. I don't need that. Don't need that at all, man. But fuck it. If we got to play Purdue, we play Purdue. We've been dominant. So it's whatever.
Yeah. Do we need to do predictions or we're just going UConn across the board?
I'm going because if it ain't down, I'm gonna be pissed. Whoever. If it ain't, I mean, I know y'all got people valid, but I don't. I just need somebody on this side of the bracket win, so I don't have to see anybody flourish on the other side of the bracket. That's my prediction. That's what I'm going with. But for Dave's sake, because Dave's my boy, got love for the bro. I want to see his team prosper. We ain't see nobody repeat since the Florida Gators in 06 and 07. So it'd be nice to kind of see something done that hasn't been done in a while. So go ahead and flourish. But at the end of the game, the top priority, that right side of the bracket, don't flourish. That's all I gotta say. That's my prediction, man.
Yeah. State did the Lord's work on Easter Sunday by getting beat down. But it's talking to go back being hot. So
you gotta love it. You think some Blue Devils are gonna win on Easter Sunday? Nigga, please.
You think the day my man risen, you think the devil was gonna prosper?
Come on. You Duke fans should have known that was about to happen.
Oh, yeah.
It was Easter egg hunts while we was smoking on that Duke brunch, baby. That's how we do it on Sundays.
That's a bar. That's a bar.
That's what we do on Sundays, baby.
That's a
Easter
bar.
Sundays, baby.
That's an Easter bar. That's an Easter bar. Yeah, yeah,
Hell
yeah.
yeah. And speaking of coming back from the dead, the reigning MVP of the NBA is back. Joel Embiid came back yesterday. Obviously, Rusty, but still was able to drop 24, 6, and 6 to beat Oklahoma City. Obviously, he has about a week and a half to really get his legs under him. Probably going to be in the play-in game, probably as a 7 seed, maybe 8 seed. But if Philadelphia can somehow get to 7 or maybe even 6, they have one of the easiest schedules down the stretch. Their last hard game is actually, I think, tomorrow against Miami. If they beat Miami, they can go on a run and maybe move up to 6. Maybe. But even if they get Milwaukee in the first round of 2-7, Philadelphia is going to be a lot on Embiid and his conditioning. The Kings stay healthy, but they won that game yesterday with no Tyrese Maxey. And, Oklahoma City didn't have Shea, didn't have Jalen. They still have a lot of guys. That's a deep Oklahoma City team. And that was a big win for Philly. But, the Milwaukee Bucks are currently the 2 seed. But a few days ago, you lose on the road to Washington, and you have Doc Rivers questioning your professionalism. Talking about the energy wasn't there. Like, how's the energy not there? We're literally about a week and a half from the last day of the regular season. The play-in tournament starts in 13 days. Like, we're at the end of the season. Like, we're about to get into the real season, and you're questioning guys' professionalism, their effort, their energy. Game has been inconsistent. They lost a ugly game last week to the Lakers. With Embiid's return, you don't want to see Philadelphia in round 1 if you're Milwaukee. And Milwaukee's going to have the better coach in Nick Nurse, a champion himself, a guy that's done a lot with less, getting teams to the playoffs that, didn't have a lot of talent, but they competed. You give him time to really game plan, game by game, and we have the reigning MVP, and we have Tyrese Maxey who took a step, and Buddy Hield was a good addition. Tobias Harris can get back to the way he was playing before. He had some nagging injuries as well. That's a very dangerous first round series for a team that lost in the first round last year that caused them to fire their coach and Budenholzer. Then you hire Adrian Griffin, who had a better record at this point of the season than what Milwaukee has under Doc Rivers. I don't know about Milwaukee, man. Even if they get past Philadelphia, pull up the standings again, Dave, real quick.
Yes, sir.
So you have right now Cleveland at 3, but the 6th seed is Indiana currently. If, let's say, a team like the Knicks drop down to 6 because they have some injuries, it's possible. They can give Milwaukee all they can handle in the second round if they, get past the 3 seed. Because Cleveland is a 3 seed. I'm just not buying Cleveland. I'm just not buying.
Nah.
If Philadelphia can somehow get the 3, not the 3 to 6, then they can really they'll beat Cleveland in the first round. Whoever's in that 6th spot, whether it's Indiana, Miami.
Honestly, that'd be a good warm-up series for Embiid to get his conditioning, because even where he's at now, I think he's still going to give Allen and Mobley, like, he's going to torch them. So, like, they can get the 6 somehow. That'd be perfect for them.
Yeah, fellas, what do you think about the East as we come down the stretch? I know another team that we're talking about, I'm going to get into, is Orlando. They've been kind of getting no buzz, but you see them right now. They're currently in that 4 spot, and I feel like they could get the Knicks. Even if the Knicks are healthy, they could give the Knicks trouble in the first round series and possibly beat them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what your thoughts on the East as we head down to the last stretch of the season? Literally the last.
I just see because really this whole thing comes down to Boston and Milwaukee to me. I mean, there's some scary like underdog teams like the Heat. They can, as we know, they can mess the whole thing up and make it to another finals. Atlanta been on a hot stretch, but both of these teams that are supposed to be the favorites to come out and represent the East just have not been looking really good or consistent. And I know people are like they're bored, like they just want to get to it, but you don't want to have any bad signs when you're going into the playoffs. And Milwaukee, I just felt like something. It was just a disconnect between the front office, the players, and the organization because you hired Griffin. We hear you hired Griffin because you don't think y'all was really going to have a chance for contention, and y'all was just going really just trying to see what's going on with your current roster. But then you made the trade for Dane and he hired Stotts to kind of bridge that gap between the head coach and Dane. But then Stotts gets fired, so now Adrian Griffin just out there alone. And of course, new coach comes in. Some of the players don't like his philosophy or anything, but they still had a great record despite of all that with the All-Star break coming up. But instead of going with Adrian Griffin for at least the finish off the season, you fire him mid-season for your consultant. That's another story for another day. And now y'all have a worse record than y'all have with Griffin, pretty much with the same team. And something that our friend of the show, KD, alluded to the chat, when you get these star players together, it's not 2K. You just don't plug in a player and just then you're automatically going to run like 60 games out the gate. Sometimes this takes time because these people are human beings. And we know Dane just got a lot of stuff going on in his personal life. And the fact he just doesn't look the same as he was last year. Like he looks like he took a step backwards, actually. He don't look like there's been less Dane time, in my opinion, this year. So Milwaukee, they just haven't shown me any reasons why they barely would get out of the second round. And I just feel like the winner is going to come out the West, regardless who makes it out of the West this year, because the East, they just feel like they just going to beat themselves. And it's really, like I called it earlier, the East playoffs is going to be a trick off. Who's going to trick off worse than the next person? And that's how I really feel about the East, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean the Bucks are and they're just dysfunctional, and they're trying to do their best to make it look like everything is fine, but everything is not fine. And I was already kind of like, okay, they're not. I don't think that this year is the year that they get it done, but I don't even know if they get past the first round or even the second round.
I think they will, but that second round is going to be tricky depending on who that matchup is. I think they're too talented to lose in that first round. If they do, you already know how it's going to get on the show.
It'll be terrible. So they can't lose in the first round, and they really should get to the conference finals at least. But I feel like that's not going to happen.
Yeah, and the thing is like we've seen some dysfunctional teams in the regular season actually get to a finals and win. I'll give you an example. That 06 Miami Heat team, they were actually better the year before. They bring in veterans like Gary Payton, Jason Williams, Antoine Walker. They didn't have a great regular season, but they were able to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, and for whatever reason, they clicked, and they were able to get past the Detroit Pistons, who just went to back-to-back finals, and then Dwayne Wade just went to a whole nother level against Dallas. That series. Do I think the Bucks could have a run like that? No, because the problem is that Dwayne Wade is a guard who has the ball in his hands a lot, and Dame. I just don't think Dame has it in him anymore. Middleton has taken a step back. We know Giannis is the most sure thing that they're going to have. Giannis is going to get 30 and 13. But when the game's on the line, we saw against the Lakers where he missed the free throws when they really needed to make some free throws. His shooting is very suspect at times as well. So do I think the Bucks can go on that run? I don't think so. And also, Pat Riley was the coach of that team. And you can say what you want about any team, but Pat Riley's coach of the team. He's going to command respect, and people are going to listen to Pat Riley. Pat Riley also came in mid-season that year as well. They canned Stan Van Gundy in the middle of that season. But I just don't think the Bucks can go on that type of run. And they're actually really lucky that Embiid did get injured because Philadelphia was actually second in the East when Joel went down. So Joel stayed healthy, majority of the year. We're talking about
without a doubt.
Boston versus Philly in the college finals. Quite honestly, Boston would rather see Milwaukee, in my opinion, than the Sixers because the Sixers should have beat Boston last year. But James Harden didn't want to pass the MVP of the ball down the stretch and was horrible in Game 6 and 7. So, Milwaukee's even fortunate that Embiid was out for most of the year because they were already trending to be like a 4 seed because remember the Knicks were ahead of them at the time. The Knicks had a lot of injuries lately as well. So, Milwaukee's very fortunate. They are able to get a 2 seed. They should get to a conference finals and then maybe they can try to make something shake in the offseason, or maybe Giannis and Dame can get on the same page, or maybe Doc Rivers for full offseason they can get on a better trajectory. But like I said, this is very dysfunctional. In the rest of the East, you have up and coming teams like Indiana and Orlando. We know Philadelphia is banged up. We know Miami, regardless of seeding, we know you can't count them out.
Yeah, they're the outlier. You just gotta see them lose 4 times before you count them out, and that's it.
And the Knicks, if they can just get some of their guys healthy, they could be a problem because under Thibodeau they're going to play hard, they're going to compete. But I just don't know. Without Randall and OG Anunoby's had issues, and Mitchell Robinson, I don't know if he's going to be able to come back at some point. I just don't know if they're going to have enough bodies to really get past the second round. Especially if they end up in the 4th seed, they're going to play Boston in the second round anyway. I don't think they're going to beat the Celtics. So,
especially not healthy. Yeah.
But real quick, out west, it looks like for the Warriors, they look like they're going to make the play-in. But they have Houston tomorrow. They have a chance to bury Houston tomorrow. Houston has some tough games against some tough opponents recently. But shout out Jalen Green. He's been on a heater ever since the news that he got Drea pregnant. He's played.
Hey man, look, you turn to a family man and you start balling. Hey, that's
formula ain't cheap.
Heck yeah, nasty nigga Udoka knows a little something about some stuff. But anyways. Houston got red hot. They Houston, they got hot. They applied the pressure, but they had some tough games. But they still have a puncher's chance of getting to play. But they're going to have to win that game tomorrow. Lakers are still 9. The Lakers have played really good ball. They're still in the 9. So that just shows you how loaded the West is. Phoenix is currently 8 seed. Sacramento, they have some injuries to Herter and Monk. How's that going to affect them? I think Sacramento is going to bounce in the play. And unfortunately, just because of the timing of those injuries, and we're going to you look at the play-in against Phoenix, the Lakers, and the Warriors. You need a guy like Monk and Herter.
Yeah,
those teams. I think that's going to be their downfall. New Orleans got hot, but you see they lost a few games recently. They went from 4 to 6 in the span of a couple of days. Dallas,
that's crazy.
Red hot as well. The team that's kind of just interesting. We know who's going to be 1, 2, and 3. We don't know the order, but the Clippers at 4. They've been struggling down the stretch. So this last week and a half of the season, I'm curious to see if the Clippers can get any type of momentum going into the postseason. They were playing really good ball after Christmas when they got hard and acclimated into their system. But lately, we've kind of seen them level off a little bit, kind of look disinterested, not playing any defense. Zubac, I think, has had a little nagging injury, which is a bigger blow than what people realize, especially on the defensive end, for what he brings. And also, Zubac is a role man. Westbrook was out as well. That was another huge loss for them. He just getting reacclimated. So I'm looking at the Clippers out west as a team to watch because they have the talent, they have the coaching, they have the experience to really possibly make a finals run, but they're dysfunctional as well. So is there a team before we wrap this show up, guys? Is there a team out west that you're looking at to put a spotlight on the last week of the season?
I'm looking at the Dallas Mavericks. I'm looking at how they'll play. They made some trades, I think either before or before the trade deadline. PJ Washington and some other guys came on board. I'm interested because they've had times this season. They had some winning streaks and they had some questionable losses here and there. Earlier, they were kind of in that play-in situation, but they moved up to the 5 spot. I'm interested to see whether they can lock down one of those top 6 seeds and give a team like maybe the Clippers or the Thunder or even the Timberwolves in the first round some problems. And then in the second round, depending on who they play, it's not far-fetched to say the Dallas Mavericks can make the conference finals, especially especially with a backcourt like that. So I'm looking at the Mavericks to see where they'll end up, who their first round matchup will be, and then kind of just the projection of, okay, if they make it past the first round, who they play in the second round.
For me, 2 things. I think the youth between the Wolves and the OKC Thunder, because with Shade dealing with this nagging injury right now, I just want to see how that's going to impact him going into these playoffs. And, Timberwolves dealing with Cat's injury as well. So they got to make some adjustments. I don't know when Cat's supposed to be coming back, if he's coming back in time to start the first round.
I think they said there's a possibility he could come back at the end of this week. I think I saw something about that, but there's optimism he'll be back actually for the regular season. So
and then outside of that, I'm looking at teams like y'all mentioned the Clippers, but also the Suns, because those teams is like I call them nightmare. To me, I call them nightmare teams because they could be nightmare for the other team or they could be nightmares to themselves, just how they play. It's like one night, because you see some nights like Phoenix beat Denver back to back. Like, not many teams can say that about them this year. But also Phoenix will go at Denver too, but Phoenix will go ahead and lose to Milwaukee without Giannis. Phoenix will go to and lose to the Pacers without Tyrese Halliburton. That's the type of inconsistency you can't have when you go into the playoffs and everything. They still try and acclimate the 3 stars on the team. Bill, for some reason, finally got it through his head that he has to be the one that takes a lesser role. So things have been, I guess, a little bit better with that playing style. But if you're talking about 2 teams on the West that can get on heaters and cause disruption, it's the Clippers and the Suns, because you just think about the offensive power that they have, and if Phoenix plays either a slit or a defense, then that's trouble for everyone. Clippers, they just top to bottom, great roster, great coaching. But will Kawhi be healthy? Will PG be healthy? We just gotta have to see.
Yeah.
No doubt. Well, fellas.
Okay, can I do one thing real quickly? As y'all been noticing, I've been wearing this LSU Angel Reese jersey. She just made her announcement that she's declaring for the WNBA draft. I just want to give her a shout out for having an amazing college basketball career. I just love her play style. Even when she was at Maryland, Baltimore girl, she wins everywhere. She gave us a Big Ten championship while she was there. As you know, we national championship, SEC Player of the Year. Just want to give her flowers. She really added something to the game on and off the court that I think that's going to really propel the sport of basketball for women. And I hope that we get to see more girls like her on and off the court. So just want to give a great shout out to Angel Reese. This the one time, where rare times, PG and Baltimore can get along when it's for a good cause. So shout out to Angel Reese. Do your thing. Hope we draft you. You come to the Mystics, girl. Hope to see you soon.
Yeah, salute to Angel Reese. Like whatever city she gets drafted to, is gonna get turned up. Yeah, she's box office in her own right as well.
Oh, for sure. She definitely will get some good endorsements. Well, as you see, it's just three of us today, so we had to run this three-man weave. A lot of hoops talk, man. Women's college, men's college, NBA. Next week, we will have a champion in the women's and the men's. We will recap the Final Four, talk about key points. There's been some NFL news lately as we approach the draft. We'll get into some football as well, and of course, we'll
My boy
preview the last
Free.
week of the women's.
Yeah, my
That's
boy
why
Free.
James is in Houston.
The Houston, that's a blessing and a curse right there.
Hell yeah. And then, of course, last week of the NBA season, we'll look at some key games. And at this point, we'll have a little bit more clarity about the standings and possibly preview the play-in tournament. We might have to do a little special episode after the end of the season on Sunday just to kind of preview the play-in tournament. But yeah, a lot of stuff coming down the pipe. We got some fights soon. We are 17 days away from Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia.
Woo.
Yeah.
As we start to get into the summer, where boxing starts to pick up a little bit, some big fights coming up. We'll preview that as well, and we will. Oh, sorry, I'm tired. I went to the gym. God damn.
Stretch it out, fella. Stretch it out, my boy. Stretch it out.
Message from Samson Ford. Remember to stretch before and after your workouts.
Stretch and hydrate. Stretch and hydrate.
Yeah.
Make sure you hydrate.
Stretch, hydrate. Don't be thirsty out here.
Don't be thirsty.
Literally and figuratively.
Hey, because we peep y'all on it. We peep y'all on this internet. Some of y'all have some real nasty agendas out here. That's all I'm gonna say, man. That's all I'm gonna say, bro.
Some of y'all down tremendously.
hey, bro. Before we go on that tangent, hey, thank you to all our viewers, everyone that is listening to us. Thank you very much for staying loyal to the soil with us. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe to the pod, dog. Hit that button right there if you're watching on YouTube. Hit that follow button if you listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever, Google Podcast, wherever you get, we everywhere. Anywhere you get podcasts, you can find us. So, hey, appreciate y'all for listening. Appreciate y'all for watching as well.
Until next time.
Shotty drop 40 and he turns into Marco Robbie. We in hell, boys.
Hey. That's info from that's T right there on the right. That's Dre in the middle. It's your boy S. Dave. Samson 4. We are out of here.